Hi everyone, this is Neha. Hope you guys are doing well. So in this video I'm going to be talking about fear, happiness, and how they play a role in helping us see through the many illusions out there. See, when you're happy internally, you're happy with what you have in the now moment. You're not looking to the external world for validation. You're just full of that love. That is precisely who we are. We're all love at the end of the day. So then you're able to see the love around you. And if somebody has bad intentions for you, they can't manipulate you because you're able to see through that. And many times when you're in that happiness, your third eye may be opened. Your chakras may be opened. That helps in seeing through all of the illusions, not only in your relationships, but the external world when it comes to politics, news, sports, everything. And so we saw this in 2020 when many of us were put in this fear mindset for this virus, 2 weeks to slow down the spread, to flatten the curve. And people started realizing, people started putting all the puzzle pieces together. Went through that spiritual awakening. Some did, some didn't. Many didn't. So let's be honest. Why didn't many see through the lies? Because they're still looking for happiness externally. Now, so these same people that were not able to see through the lies and were afraid of a virus are now expressing their concerns about climate change. The next thing that we should be in fear of. If you haven't looked this up, look up geoengineering, weather modification, HAARP, and chemtrails. We are not told the truth, and those in power will tell us what they want us to hear and what they need to tell us so it doesn't affect their karma. And that is why we need to learn to try to get out of this fear mindset and not look to the external world for our happiness. Now, let me give you a quote. I'm going to read a quote from The Greatest Secret. It's a quote from Ramana Maharishi on happiness. The world is so unhappy because it is ignorant of the true self. Man's real nature is happiness. Happiness is inborn in the true self. Man's search for happiness is an unconscious search for his true self. When a man finds it, he finds a happiness which does not come to an end. Profound, right? And it is within ourselves. That is when we find happiness. And when we find that self-love, when we become selfish in a selfless world, and that is not wrong for us. That is something that we all deserve to do. That is our birthright. That does not mean you're snobbish. It means you care about yourself. That you are the driver of your life. Now, I'm not saying be overly confident and overly cocky in situations, but there is a time and place for everything. And many of us, because we were people pleasers, I'm going to raise my hand because this was me for a portion of my life. I'm also a troublemaker, so hey. But because we were people pleasers, we didn't understand what it meant to stand up for ourselves. That we adapted to others and we felt that that was our greatest point. I actually took pride in being a chameleon and having all sorts of different friends, circles, and relationships and all, and actually took pride in all the numbers and quantities of friends rather than the quality of friends at a certain point in time. And when I realized, when I went through my awakening, that quantity does not mean quality, everything shifted. I stopped sharing personal information on Facebook first and foremost because I was in that mindset for a short period of time looking for that external happiness. Got caught up in competition. But when I stopped doing that, everything shifted. I'm not saying I don't share much information anymore. I do maybe a little bit, but that's because I want to, not because I want to be in some competition with anybody else, because it makes me happy. And when you find that happiness inside you, you'll realize that people around you either add to your happiness or they take away from it. And if they take away from your happiness, that's when you start setting boundaries, either by walking away or just cutting ties. And I'll put this out there, and I've said this before. Just because I don't talk to somebody in the past does not mean like I wish them any, ill nature or anything. But it's because I had to cut the tie for myself. Especially when people around me were in the fear mindset and I had seen through all of the illusions, it was actually bringing me down. And we're nothing but energy, frequency, and vibration. And so for me, I had to, for myself, to not impact myself in a negative way. It wasn't for them, it was for me. And I've heard some people say, oh, why don't I reach out to them? Guys, we're grown adults. If you're worried about somebody not reaching out to you, pick up the phone, text them. You never know. And so people change, people grow. And that's another thing, right? The best relationships are those where if one is growing, others grow with them. Sometimes relationships don't work when one is growing and one isn't. And I have been learning all throughout my life. I'm constantly learning and expanding my awareness and consciousness. And so for me, those type of relationships that are at that same type of mindset are those that make me, or that add to my happiness. I don't like talking about gossip or materialistic things. But let's be honest here. As many people, when they awaken, they talk about 3D to 5D and they say, they're in 5D. We are in this world where multiple realities are playing out. So we're not always in 5D. We're shifting between the different realities where people are still stuck in the past. Some are in the present, some are in the future. We need to learn to listen to our intuition in our conversations with others and figure out what to say and what shouldn't. This is when we need to be more self-reflective and observe. Initially, I was of the mindset that, hey, why aren't people seeing through all the lies? Now I'm like, okay, if they don't want to see through the lies, that's fine. But I don't underestimate the power of planting a seed.